Police officers of Reddit. What was something you saw someone do that made you say, wait, is that illegal? Repeatedly driving around a roundabout, like 25 times in a row. Edit. Where I am in Australia, it is not illegal. Judging by the comments, it seems to be illegal in Switzerland and Germany, and some US states. Once I was drunk at a bar that only had one toilet for men and one for women, and the lines were way too long during a football game. So I went outside to pee. I ended up getting a ticket for urinating in public. The next day I look up the code the officer cited me for, and it was the equivalent of littering. But you see, in all my glory, I actually had the decency to pee into a trash can. So I prepared my defense to show up in court and plead to the judge that I was innocent because you can't litter into a trash can. The officer didn't show up to court, so I ended up getting off, but I still wonder how hard the judge would have laughed in my face. My state doesn't allow underglow on normal vehicles, but encourages extra lighting like that on motorcycles. My favorite police incident in my whole life has been the cop that stopped, parked this car at a stop sign to give somebody a parking ticket because the bumper was maybe 1 feet past the "do not park beyond this point" sign, while the rest of the car was good. An old lady of Latin descent, 70s I'm guessing, attempts to go around the illegally parked cop car and gets into an accident. She flips out on the cop, screaming at him in Spanish for being careless. He just puts his head down at his old lady, berated him for parking like a fucking asshole. Sometimes I miss Baltimore. Not a cop, but I know someone who was on the receiving end of this. I always carry lights when I'm longboarding in the dark, even though I don't have to. It's purely a safety measure. My friend doesn't, and he got pulled over for it once. The cops were literally about to give him a fine, and my friend had to explain to them that he wasn't obligated to carry lights since skaters are pedestrians according to my country's traffic law. Drunk on an electric scooter. There's a bar behind my house. Sometimes I grab a ladder and hop on the fence to get there. One time I was hopping back over and got stopped. The cop ran my DL and said, "You do you." Driving above the posted school zone speed limit when the sign states 20 miles per hour when children are present. Well then, what constants present? Children inside the school? Children playing well away from the road in the fenced-in yard? Just school hours in general? During after-school sports and activities? No idea. So unless someone's blatantly reckless and an asshole, I won't stop people for driving over the posted 20. Winter, Minnesota, 12 a.m. I'm at my dad's house for a visit. He gets too tired to drive me home and tells me to take his truck. I take the truck and head down a steep hill of a street. The truck sounds weird, but I figure it's the 4WD and the snow/ice I'm driving on. Police lights behind me. I slowly pull over. I get out of a large truck as the officer comes over. "Excuse me, miss. Did you know you were plowing Madison Avenue in the middle of the night?" Me. So that's what all the noise is. I don't know what's going on this thing. He probably wanted to give me a ticket for stupidity and illegal midnight plowing. Instead, he helped me get the plow up, then followed me home to make sure I was safe. I was pulled over a few years ago for not coming to a complete stop at a yield sign. I had slowed down, looked both ways and for oncoming traffic, and then pulled into the street. There was absolutely no cars on the road. My dog ran out into the street and into the side of a driving car. Crazy lady, whose son was driving, got out and started threatening to call the cops because our dog dented and scratched their car. After she left, my mom called the cops to see if there was anything we could be held accountable for. Cop: "Was it on your property?" Mom: "No." Cop: "Was your dog driving a car?" Mom: "No." Cop: "You're fine." My mate rode the train in only his boxers after he lost his swimming pants, or whatever the fuck you English people call it. A cop was on the same train as us and he just kept looking like he didn't know what the fuck to do because it's not really written in the rules that you cannot ride the train in your boxers if you pay for it. My friend breaking apart a bundle of bananas and only taking two. I was 20 when I learned that was totally and completely okay to do. I had a cop pull me over and threaten to give me a ticket for failure to yell to his vehicle. There was a guy up ahead speeding like crazy. I was passing a line of semis that had no room to merge between them, and I didn't realize the car behind me was police, as his was unmarked and had no sirens or lights on. He was tailgating me, so I did move out of the passing lane as soon as there was a spot. I'm fairly certain if he had given me a ticket it wouldn't have stood up, given that you don't normally have to move over for emergency vehicles when they don't have their lights on. A drunk man dry humping a tree. Every time I walk down the street and see/smell someone smoking pot. I know it is legal now, but my brain still thinks it is illegal for about the first 2 seconds. I had a cop try to give me a ticket for sleeping in my car on the side of the road, in a residential area. I was too tired to continue driving home after a visit with my sis, so I took a ramp off the interstate and parked and took a nap to avoid an accident. Literally doing what they recommend to avoid endangering people on the road. I forget the charge, but he basically tried to slap me with some fine that particular area gives to homeless people. Homeless people. If they loiter or hang around too long. Took me a full half hour to convince the guy I wasn't homeless. I was leaving to drive the rest of the way home ASAP, and I was doing what I knew to be safe, and that the 2 fire engines and 3 squad cars they deployed were insanely unnecessary, even if I was. Guy just seemed pissed as I was to get a call in the night from whatever rich scaredy-puss couldn't handle some guy taking a car nap and minding his own damn business. Not a police officer. News story about a man in Louisiana who rode his horse home drunk. The officer pulled him over to arrest him and he said that the horse knew the way home. The officer couldn't give him a DUI because he was on the horse and only gave him a ticket for public intoxication. I've had 2 separate occasions where I got stopped because a cop didn't know something was legal. When my friends and I were 15, we bought some cheap kites at a dollar store and decided to take them with us downtown. We live in Chicago, and fly them. We started trying to fly them by the Art Institute when we got stopped by a cop. He told us that kites were not allowed to be flown anywhere in the downtown area, and if he saw us doing it again, he would give us a $250 citation. It seemed kind of weird since Millennium and Grand Park were both in the downtown area, but we didn't argue. Years later, I found out that it actually was an obscure law, but a law that was repealed in the 70s. Turns out we were just fine flying our kites and that cop just didn't know it wasn't illegal anymore. The second time happened maybe a year after that one with the same friends. We liked going to Maxwell Street Market really close to closing time, because sometimes we'd get things for free or really cheap, because sellers just want to get rid of them. My friend and I got these 2 cop hats for free from this guy. Mine was just plain blue, but his had a checkered pattern on it. Here is a picture of his I put on a traffic cone smoking a cigarette. Later that day, we were walking around smoking cigarettes in Pilsen, which is where he lived and I grew. A cop car pulls up to us and stops us. I thought it was going to be because he saw us smoking and we looked young. But the driver asks to see my friend's hat and asks us where we got him. My friend gives it to him and he hands it off to his partner, and we tell him how we got it. He tells us we shouldn't be wearing those hats because it's illegal, and his partner is sitting there trying to rip off the checkered pattern. My friend's older brother who was with us tells the cop that's not completely true, and that it would be illegal if we had badges on them and we were going around saying we were cops, which we weren't. The cop knew it had a point, so he takes the hat back from his partner, gives it to my friend, and says, "Well, you shouldn't wear them around here or you'll get shot." Although Pilsen wasn't the best neighborhood around then, I doubt two 16-year-olds were going to be mistaken for cops, especially since one of them was on skateboard. Driving a motorized sofa down the road to the store to buy beer. I honestly have no fucking clue how the courts will classify mobility sofas when it comes to traffic laws and open beer laws. Told the reclining driver same and advised he treat this couch like a pedestrian and only drive on the sidewalk without any open alcoholic beverages.